with Stephen Doyle, been around the industry for a million years, well-rounded, knowledgeable fellow, representing Bridgit today. Welcome, Steve. Tell us about yourself.
And, delighted to be here. Look, I've been in the industry for close on 30 years now. Started, my first aggregator that I actually worked with was back in 2005. It's been a long time, and I've known you for a very long time, it's been great. But my background has actually been 20 years plus in aggregation, and now I've decided to move into the lending world and specialising in bridging finance. So that's a bit about me, mate.
So Bridgit's been around for 5 years now. I think
Correct.
2021.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
And tell me, how did it start and why did it start?
So basically it was started by our CEO. He had a spare room in his house, and Aaron Basson started it off. He saw a gap in the market of trying to help individuals who wanted to unlock their wealth, so to speak, out of their property, and saw a gap in bridging finance. So he started it back then. I joined literally a year later, and my role was to look at expanding into broker distribution. So moving on that side. And here we are, 5 years from that day, and we've got 120 staff, 17,000 accredited brokers, the number one independent bridging provider in Australia.
Incredible story in such a short period of time to get 17,000 out of 20-odd thousand brokers in Australia. And obviously with the launch of Bridgit on panel with SFG, a few more. So congratulations on such a whirlwind growth into our channel. I don't think I've seen anything quite like it, that penetration of distribution. Why is it so popular?
When we started this, when we started going into the market and looking at the broker market as a whole, and when Aaron came to me and asked me if I wanted to join, and initially I said probably not. It's not too appealing at the beginning. A fintech startup that specialises in bridging finance. But when you actually look at what's happening in the lending space, and especially back then 4 years ago, the majority of lenders were pulling out of the bridging space. They were actually walking away from it. I saw an opportunity there for our space, for the broker distribution channel, to actually say, okay, there is a need for bridging finance. There is definitely a need for it, and there's definitely a gap in the market that other lenders were pulling away. So when I started off at the beginning, the first aggregator group, we went to them and they said, do you know what? This could be an option for us and for the brokers. So we went on that panel first, accredited the brokers, got some testimonials, got some use cases, and it just built from there. And a lot of it was from like people like yourself in the aggregators who sort of put their hand up and says, this is missing. This is actually missing from the panel. The reputation of bridging previously has always been, it's too stressful, it's too hard, it's too expensive. When you actually come to the market and you dispel all those myths, so to speak, you then become a real attractive offering to the broker's end client. That's why people have sort of reached out to us and said, look, we'd love to have you on the panel.
So 120 staff, geez, you must be turning out some transactions. There's a desperate need for it. How many would you do, say, a month?
From a volume perspective, we're easily up to about now 300 customers we're helping on a monthly basis.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So mate, 300 in 5 years to be doing that on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
For the people that might be watching this, but they've heard about bridging, fantastic, they need to talk to their broker.
Yeah.
Just explain it to us as if we're not very smart.
Yeah.
How does bridging work?
Bridging is enormously simple. It gives you the option to buy a property now and sell your property later. A couple have owned their property for 20 years. They've paid that property off. So they own that property outright. And they've seen a property that they love. And this could be from a downsizing perspective, from an upsizing perspective, it doesn't matter. When they see a property, the majority of individuals will go on to realestate.com, look up properties.
Or domain.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Either of the property companies.
So look at either of them and basically choose a property, and they love it. They absolutely love it. They go and see a real estate agent. They go to the open home. They see it, and they really want it. Now, the last thing a real estate agent wants to hear is, I love that property. I want to buy it, but I have to sell this property first. Now, if they've got the facility to be able to buy that property today and then have a period of 12, 24 months to actually sell their existing property, why on earth wouldn't you do it?
12 to 24 months.
Yeah.
That's a really long time frame.
It is.
To be able to sell your property and acquire the new one. Fantastic. And so it's without doubt there's a big need for it. Tell me about some of the differences between you and your competitors. Why would we choose Bridgit over, say, somebody else?
The reality is look, it's always going to be broker's choice, and that's something that I'm very au fait with. It's got to be a case of, look, you look at the proposition of what it is compared to your actual peers. We specialise in this. We're independent. That's what we do. Speed is a massive thing for us. We had a deal just before Christmas. We received it on the 8th of December. It was for a sum of $8.3 million. And basically it was settled, money funded by 17th.
Oh my Lord. And that's over the Christmas break as well.
That was over the Christmas break. So it was done.
But for debts that size, it's quite daunting to think, you might have your mortgage of $1 million or whatever, and all of a sudden you're buying a place for $5, $6, $7, $8 million.
Yeah.
What about the repayments through that period? Isn't that crippling?
No. So everything is capitalised. Everything is added on to the actual loan. So the way Bridgit actually works is we will fund a new purchase. So the money is actually funded, and basically all interest is capitalised. All fees are capitalised, so there's no monthly repayments whatsoever.
So what about fees? With stamp duty, can I borrow for the stamp duty as well?
Yes, you can.
So that gets capitalised into the loan, and then there's no repayments.
So there's no repayments whatsoever.
And then I sell my place, I repay a majority or a lot of the debt. What happens if there's lending left over?
Yeah, if there's end debt, basically what happens, you sell your property and you actually then repay the loan that's outstanding. If there is end debt, because we are independent, the broker then has the opportunity to refinance to a lender that is appropriate to the actual client's needs. And that's really important, because when you actually look at previous bridging providers, they will basically go, you bridge, we've got the end debt. You bridge, you've got the end debt, right? But what we do is actually, well, you may bridge with a business, with a lender, but that may not be the appropriate place for you to have your end debt. So in essence, why on earth wouldn't you have the choice to actually go to a lender of your choice? And that's what we're finding very attractive. And that's why people are coming to us, So if there is end debt, they may not want to end up with that lender. So it's got to be a case of, well, I really want to go to, whoever it may be, and maybe an ING or a Macquarie or whoever it may be.
And the benefit of that for the client is that they get to see their broker again and get retested for best interest duty, and the broker gets to transact with the client again as well. Yeah, fantastic. All right, Doyle, well, thanks for coming in, mate.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, and welcome to the panel.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.